Buenos dias desde Caracas in Venezuela. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me, but I just need to, having made this trip from Ecuador, accompanying the bishop in Ecuador on a week's trip to Venezuela, where he's also the acting bishop in the absence of an Anglican bishop here. I just need to post something, even if it's just self-therapy and nobody else views it, because this place is crazy. I'm currently in a shopping mall, which is kind of my worst place in any country, any language. I'll perhaps come around to explaining why. But of course my view of Venezuela is extremely partial. I mean, Ecuador is limited enough, but I only came here on Monday, Wednesday today. But this place makes Ecuador seem quite sort of sane somehow, and sensible and easy to understand. I'm in a shopping mall, and there's plenty of such places. There's plenty of people with plenty of money. I don't know what it is statistically, but it seems to me there are far, far more private cars, often quite big ones, and luxurious ones here in Venezuela. A lot of conspicuous wealth, and this shopping mall is part of that. And yet, the reality in Venezuela is that people are incredibly poor. I mean, far more so, it seems, even than Ecuador. It's just somehow invisible. I've been looked after by a lovely chap, Father Francisco, and his wife, Coro. He's the priest for the Anglican Church here in the city centre, and the bishop and I are accommodated in some kind of fairly exclusive, slightly soulless apartment in a secure part of Monte, one of the nicer areas of the city. Go through various security gates and lots of locks to get in and out. But I've been asking, what is the average salary, and they explained to me, about the kind of garage forecourt attendants, of which there are lots, all the people working in supermarkets, of which there are loads, doing all kinds of probably not very necessary jobs. How much are they paid? Between about $20 or $30. What, a day? A week? No, a month. Yeah, you heard right. I had to check it, thought I'd misunderstood the Spanish or something, but no. So how people live, I don't know. They do other jobs. Some people, because of, I don't know, somehow through the corporation they work for, or maybe some very distant branch of a government office, means they get some other kind of perk or ticket to get some exchange for food in some place. Loads of people get money sent from abroad. That's one of the reasons I'm here, is because there's so many Venezuelans in Bournemouth and Poole, and it's mostly Venezuelans who form the heart of our Spanish-speaking congregation there. So I've been really, glad to visit their homeland and the home city of many of them. But yeah, it's just, I don't know how people live, and there isn't the scope to do what they do in Ecuador, which is have lots of street vendors. People make all kinds of things and sell all kinds of things in every kind of place. There's none here. There's a few sort of rather swish-looking street stalls, but clearly permitted and looking just like the kind of thing you'd find in suburbs and villages in London. I think the police just clamp down on anything else. So there's none of the street vendors that you get in Ecuador, and there's loads more personal cars. There's very few taxis. Well, there's no taxis you can see to hail. There's some kind of taxi app, which I don't quite understand. And I just don't know how people are surviving. But yeah, loads of people are in employment, of course, with such low wages, and some people just working to get a few tips. And of somebody who helped us with car parking the other day. I said, well, how much would that cost? I said, do they get a salary, or is it just the tips? And she said, well, it's just the tips probably. I said, well, how much would it cost? Meaning, how much did your man hand over for the guy to park the car and look after it for us? And she said, perhaps $1 or $2. I thought that's fairly generous. But what she meant was the guy might make $1 or $2 a day. And the prices here are higher than, well, mostly higher than the UK. I went into a supermarket yesterday with Francisco. Small supermarket, kind of neighbourhood thing, very small by our standards. Parking for about 15 cars. There's security guards as you go in. There's all the usual, of course, assistants at the checkouts. Loads of people to ask where the lemons are or whatever in the actual shop. As you leave, there's somebody else on duty to stamp your receipt. Not sure why they do that, but that's what they do. And then outside, I also noticed somebody stood there with a clipboard making a note of all the cars coming in for the 15 car park spaces. Again, I'm not sure why. So there's lots of people employed, but earning next to nothing. It's just bonkers. Well, I mean, it really is Caracas. Well, it can't be the first time that joke's been made. But it really does seem, this place really is Caracas. It sort of feels, and there's big posters around. They're not. It's not like Russia in the old communist days, I don't suppose. But it's lots of posters around celebrating Chavez and Maduro, his present successor. There's posters celebrating some new trade deal with China, and some other poster I saw reminding people apparently that the US prevented us Venezuela importing insulin for babies. So there's a kind of message here, but in practice, of course, although it's denied officially, the country's gone over to the dollar, because that's one of the problems. If you're low paid, you're paid in bolivares, and they lose their value as soon as they're issued. So if you're paid in dollars, or you send dollars from abroad, you're much better off. It feels like, and sometimes in my work as a priest, you meet people whose problems are so deep set. And occasionally one feels like this about myself, of course, but problems are so deep set, it's just impossible to know how to change them. And the more obvious it becomes that you have to change, the more impossible it becomes to change. So you just carry on making it worse. So that's kind of how this country feels to me, from my tiny glimpse of it. So from this kind of looking glass world, I send greetings, and I thought Ecuador was a puzzle. This is a real head scratcher. Lots of love from Caracas.